with one final story that I personally love. I come from New York. I grew up in New York. In New York, there are some, how do I say it? I'm talking about Lashon Hara. I'm not going to start speaking about Lashon Hara about my hometown, New York. But you know, there's some, people are not always relaxed in New York. Let's put it that way. They're not always relaxed, right? Florida is a little more relaxed. Maybe it's because global warming has arrived to Florida, not to New York. Whatever the reason is, but somebody once asked me why people in New York are uptight and depressed and nervous, and I said, you would also be if the light at the end of your tunnel was New Jersey. There is a very prominent New York lawyer whose name is Ben Bronfman. And he maintains a high profile, and he's an interesting character, a chevreman, speaks his heart, speaks his truth. And one day, he was phoned by a renowned celebrity, a rap star who's known as Puff Daddy, who was involved in some ma'asim tovim, which I won't elaborate upon, some years ago. And he was being tried, and it was a serious case for him. And he calls Brafman. He says, I want you, Ben, to represent me. Money is not an issue, of course. You're the man. You're my lawyer. Ben said, okay. He says, but there's two conditions. Everyone who works for me, there's two conditions. Condition number one, I need every telephone number of yours. Even the telephone numbers only your wife has, I get. Number one. Number two, you work for me 24/7. 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. When you're a world-renowned celebrity, you're also entitled to be a meshugana. 24/7, whenever hour I call, you're available. Ben looks at him and says, the first condition is fine, I can give you all my numbers. The second condition, we have to mitigate, it's 24/6. He says, why? He says, I observe the Sabbath, I'm an observant Jew, Sabbath there's no work, it's 24/6. He says, no. For me, it's 24/7. He says, I'm sorry, but this is God's day that he gave the Jewish people. There's no exceptions. It's nothing personal. I don't do this for anybody ever. I don't take cell phones. I don't look at the phone. I don't do faxes, no emails, no texting, no WhatsApp. Garnish. He didn't use the word garnish. Nada. Brafman says, you got to make an exception. I can't work with somebody if it's not 24/7. He says, get another lawyer. He says, I want you. He says, if you want me, it's 24/6. He says, no, I want you 24/7. Called chutzpah. He says, it's either me or somebody else, but if it's me, it's 24/6. So poor Puff Daddy says, okay, 24/6. But what if it's an emergency? So he says, no problem. I have a fax machine at home. Send the fax. I'll read it. If it's a real emergency, I'll make sure they get back to you. He says, but how are you going to know it's an emergency? You have to pick up your phone. He says, explain it in the fax. He says, no. Okay, I want you, I'm taking you. This was the middle of the week. Friday night, Ben sits down to make Kiddush. Or stands up to make Kiddush. Shalom Aleichem, Eishes Chayil, picks up his cup, Yoim HaShishi Vaychul HaShamayim, his wife, his children, his Eineklach around the table, and suddenly the phone rings. He has a hunch. It's Puff Daddy Friday night calling him. It rings twice, it rings 3 times. Okay. He ignores, he's middle of Kiddush. Finishes Kiddush, they wash, it's ringing. It rings 10 times, it rings 20 times. One of his children counts. It rings 1,000 times. Now you understand the patience that it takes, right? To ring today, in today's day, to have a phone ring, I mean, you could just put it down and let it ring, or have one of your 900th servants hold the phone for you. 1,000 times it rang. Needless to say, Ben did not pick up the phone. But at this point, he knew it was Puff Daddy. It was not a hunch anymore, and Ruach HaKodesh was unnecessary. Motzei Shabbos, after Ma'ariv and Havdalah, he calls up Puff Daddy. He says, hi, it's Ben Brafman. He says, yeah, how you doing? I have a question. Did you call me Friday night? He says, absolutely yes. He says, you don't think that after 5 rings, when somebody doesn't answer, you just hang up? He says, I had to call you. He says, 1,000 times? He says, absolutely. Ben says, listen, I'm so sorry, but I told you, I work 24/6. I cannot answer a phone on Sabbath. Was it an emergency? He says, absolutely not. So why'd you call me 1,000 times? That's what I did. He says, well, I apologize, but I can't do it now. I can't do it in the future. Saturday night, I can call you. Just remember that. And I'm so sorry because I know you called 1,000 times. He said, why are you sorry? I just made money because of you. He says, what are you talking about? He said, I made a bet with my guys that I'm going to call and you're not going to pick up. And they said, for sure he's going to pick up. 1,000 calls, the money he's getting for you in a week could support him, his children, his grandchildren. He's going to pick up the phone. And I said, no, you don't know these Jews. You don't know these Jews. He's not going to. And we made a bet for $10,000. And he said, you didn't pick up the phone, and I got a fast $10,000. No complaining. The impact that a Jew who has real principles, who lives with the Ribono Shel Olam, who knows that Liya Kesef v'Liya Zov Ne'um Hashem Tzvakos is a different life and a different impact and a different influence. And today is one of the first generations in history where we have that ability l'sakin oilam b'malchus shin daled yud.